I want a divorce. What? One day, out of the blue, I, Steve, was blindsided by my wife Olivia's request for a divorce. I couldn't understand why she wanted a divorce. I was completely clueless because I hadn't done anything that might lead to this. A divorce? You're joking, right? I'm not joking. I'm serious. Why? Tell me the reason. I asked Olivia for an explanation, but she refused to say anything. How did it come to this? I racked my brain trying to figure it out. Olivia and I met through mutual friends. We both loved watching movies, and since Olivia was a former drama club member, we went to see a lot of movies and plays together. After many dates, we started going steady and eventually got married. I was content with Olivia, and I thought she felt the same. But now, she was just looking down, not saying a word. The silence was painfully awkward. Unable to stand it any longer, I finally broke the silence. If you want a divorce, at least tell me why. I won't agree to it otherwise. I have a right to know the reason, don't I? Reluctantly, as if she was being forced, Olivia let out a heavy sigh. I've found someone else. Excuse me. That's right. I've fallen for someone else. Shall I contact him for you? The Olivia I was seeing was cold and unlike the woman I had lived with for 5 years. Could this really be the same woman I had shared my life with for so long? Confused as I was, Olivia seemed unapologetic and defiant. Her demeanor only fueled my anger over my confusion. Here, this is the person. Olivia showed me a photo of her with another man, pushing my anger to its limit. How dare you? Are you making a fool out of me? Feeling betrayed by the woman I loved, my love for Olivia turned into hatred. I didn't realize it at the time, but Olivia looked momentarily sad, or maybe relieved, at my reaction. Don't bother trying to get alimony. There's no proof. Her cold words chilled the room. What was my love worth? Was the time I spent with her so insignificant that she could just replace me with another man? Was I really that insignificant? I felt more and more miserable. Why did I ever love such a woman? Filled with disgust for Olivia, I agreed on divorce. Olivia quickly left with her bags, which she had already packed. The next day, I was left alone in our spacious house. For a while, I survived on takeout food, living life in a daze. But eventually, I realized that wasn't going to cut it and threw myself into work to distract myself from the loneliness. As time passed, my anger faded, and occasionally I would remember Olivia's good qualities, which made me feel sad. I found myself feeling down quite often, and seeing this, my boss Michael suggested we grab some dinner, taking me to a fairly nice restaurant. As we looked out at the night view, Michael encouraged me, saying, "There will be another chance. Forget about that terrible woman," and gradually, I began to think less and less about Olivia. 2 years later, I received a call from my sister-in-law, Emily. I had no intention of speaking to her, so I didn't answer the phone and eventually blocked her number because she was persistent. Even though I thought there was nothing left to discuss, Emily shockingly showed up at my house, which took me by surprise. "Please leave. You're not welcome." "Please, I really need to talk to you." Emily came to my house and said that, but I slammed the door in her face. The reason I avoided Emily was because she looked too much like Olivia. Seeing Emily reminded me of Olivia. They were that similar. I just couldn't bring myself to talk, and as I kept avoiding Emily, she showed up again a few days later. To my astonishment, Emily deliberately wore the same clothes as Olivia and came to see me. Enough already. Olivia left me, stopped making me feel miserable. Angry and thinking it was a mockery, I couldn't control my emotion and ended up shouting. But Emily wouldn't back down. "I know it's presumptuous, but I really need to talk to you. My sister loved you." Emily seemed to let it slip in the heat of the moment and then looked as if she regretted it. I thought, what are you talking about? Don't say such ridiculous things. But Emily's face showed genuine regret for her slip-up. Olivia loved me. I couldn't understand why she would say that. I'll be waiting at the Cat's Hotel. If you felt even a slight doubt about my sister, please come. Can't we talk here? It's not possible here. With that, Emily ran off. I took a moment to think. Honestly, I was initially furious and thought it was a joke, but as I calmed down, I couldn't deny feeling a touch of happiness seeing Emily dressed like Olivia. The last time I spoke with Olivia about the divorce, I indeed felt something was off. It was as if the person in front of me wasn't the Olivia I knew, but someone else wearing her face. Was that really Olivia? To confirm all my questions, I headed to the hotel. A restaurant at the Cat's Hotel. It had private rooms, and it was also the place where I proposed to Olivia. Emily had stopped dressing like Olivia and apologized as soon as I arrived. I'm sorry for making you uncomfortable. We needed privacy. Thank you for coming. If you're going to apologize, then tell me why you called me here. Olivia loved me. Then why isn't she here? As I pressed for answers, Emily quietly said, my sister has passed away. The direct cause was an accident, but that's not the whole story. Wait, hold on. Olivia is dead. How? Hearing about Olivia's death, I couldn't hide my shock. Emily seemed to have anticipated my reaction and quietly continued. The truth is, my sister was in debt. Debt, to be precise. She wasn't the one who took out the loans, but she became a guarantor, and then, wait, I can't keep up. The story was too much to take in all at once, and I gulped down the water on the table. Olivia is gone, and she was in debt. I had no idea about any of this. It seems Olivia had secrets she kept from me. According to Emily, Olivia had a close friend in college. This friend was very serious and talked about starting a business after graduation. Olivia said her friend was smart and capable enough to start a business. But then, a problem arose. Starting a business requires capital. The friend was all alone in the world, with no one to act as a guarantor. My sister was 21 at the time and was eligible to be a guarantor. She was close to the friend and wanted to support her friend's dream, so she signed on a dotted line as a guarantor. The friend thanked Olivia and then graduated from university without any issues. However, the friend had lied to Olivia. The friend was involved with loan sharks and disappeared. The debt heavily burdened Olivia. My sister tried to handle it all by herself. That's ridiculous. Why didn't you talk to me about it? We're family. It's normal to discuss these things. The friend disappeared only recently. Until then, they had been in regular contact. But suddenly, there was no response, and the creditors started contacting my sister. The initial loan was about $10,000, but the friend apparently intentionally avoided repayments, and the amount ballooned due to interest. According to Emily, the debt had exceeded $50,000. The contract was made before your marriage, so Steve, you're not responsible for the repayment. My sister decided to distance herself from you because she was deceived and didn't want to cause you any suffering. Olivia decided to get a divorce using the debt as a reason and thought about how to make you give up on her, hoping you'd think, I'm better off without such a woman, and fabricated a story about an affair. She thought that even if she told you about the debt, you would persist. Knowing your character, Olivia resorted to such measures. The man in the photo pretending to be the other man in the affair was actually Emily's boyfriend, who wasn't involved in any cheating. The reason Olivia felt like a different person when she filed for divorce was that she was playing the role of the worst woman who cheats on and leaves her husband. I was completely fooled by Olivia, who had dreamed of becoming an actress. My sister worked from morning till night to pay off the debt. She kept it a secret even from our family. working part-time in the mornings and at a bar every night. The debt collectors were reckless, and it seems she hardly slept. Perhaps it was too much for her. She didn't notice a car approaching while driving and collided with it. When Emily and her family arrived at the hospital, it was already too late for Olivia. The doctors said that due to severe overwork and lack of physical strength, recovery was difficult, and Olivia passed away a few days later. Our family only found out about the debt then. The insurance money was all used for repayment, and all that's left of my sister is this. Saying that, Emily handed me a cell phone. It was Olivia's cell phone. I looked at Emily. I want you to see this. It shows my sister's feelings for you. With the family's consent, I checked the cell phone. I didn't look at personal things like emails, but the photo folder was full of pictures of us. Pictures of me sleeping, pictures of meals I cooked on a whim. There were so many. I also opened a diary app. There weren't many entries, suggesting the diary wasn't written frequently. However, those few pages were all addressed to me. My once-in-a-lifetime performance. I wonder if Steve will be fooled. No, I have to fool him. I can't let him be unhappy because of me. It's ironic that I practiced for my dream of becoming an actress, but I had to use those skills here. But it was worth it if it will distance him from me. This entry was dated the day Olivia asked for a divorce. It showed Olivia's resolve. There was a significant gap until the next entry, but again, it was about me. I saw someone who looked like Steve in town. Even though it's impossible, I couldn't help but follow him with my eyes. How silly. After I let him go, Steve surely doesn't want to see me anymore. I made it that way. I don't deserve to feel sad, but why am I so sad? How can I fill this emptiness? Olivia felt the same loss in her heart as I did. I've thought about the same thing. How can one fill the void in their heart? But such a thing is never truly filled. That's how significant we were to each other. They say that you only realize what you've lost once it's gone, and it's not entirely wrong. I felt the same way. The diary comes to its final page. But there are hardly any words written there. Just one sentence. I want to see Steve. Olivia. In her final moments, she was calling your name, wanting to see you. She said if she was going to die anyway, she should have gone to see you. Emily, in tears, handed me something. It was the last thing my sister held onto. Our family discussed what to do with it, thinking maybe it was better for Olivia's sake to stay silent. But it was too sad to let her feelings and misunderstandings remain as they were. I'm sorry. As I took what was handed to me, Emily covered her mouth and cried. Looking at what was given to me, my vision blurred. It was Olivia's wedding ring. Honestly, knowing Olivia's true feelings now doesn't change the fact that there's nothing I can do about it. It only adds to my pain, and perhaps ignorance would have been bliss. But the joy of knowing she truly loved me overpowers that pain, filling the loneliness of my heart. Olivia, she really did love me. That realization brought salvation to my heart. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I cried like a child. Time has passed since then, and I find myself visiting Olivia's grave. It took me a while to sort out my feelings, which is why my visit was delayed. This season has fully transitioned into spring, with the warm sunshine feeling pleasant. I'm sorry for being late, but it's your fault for putting on such an act, making me take so long to come here. Standing in front of Olivia's grave, I gaze at her name. You really fooled me with your once-in-a-lifetime performance. I had no idea you were such a great actress. I wish you had told me. While saying this, I can't help but smile. Thank you for going to such lengths for me. I promise to live a happy life, so just watch over me for a while. I'll bring lots of stories to share when I see you in heaven. With those words, I walked away. A breeze brushes my cheek, and petals from the newly blossomed cherry blossoms graze it as well. It feels as if Olivia is right there with me, and I find myself smiling gently. Don't forget to be grateful to others. Under no circumstances should you harbor hatred or look down on people. Ever since I can remember, my mom raised me with these words. Although I can say I grew up in a privileged environment, these words helped me get along well with those around me. I never could have imagined that such an event would await someone like me. My name is Michael. When I was 2, my parents divorced, and I was taken in by my mom. My dad was apparently careless with money, and the child support payments stopped coming soon after, leading to a complete loss of contact. Because of this, my household had to get by on just my mom's salary. To be honest, we were poor. We lived in a cheap, run-down apartment, and my mom always looked for the cheapest items when shopping. But I never heard her utter a word of resentment towards my dad. "Don't you hate Dad?" When I asked, my mom seemed to ponder for a moment. "Well, at first I did resent your father. After all, he promised to pay child support and then just disappeared. But one day, I realized that harboring hatred gets you nowhere. I thought it was better to be grateful for the people who support me now and live life positively," she said with a smile. Even though I was only in an elementary school, I thought my mom, who managed to change her mindset, was a strong person. At the same time, I wanted to be like her. Until then, I had always envied my friends who could afford expensive games and resented my circumstances for being poor. But after hearing my mom's story, I changed my way of thinking. I stopped comparing myself to others. Instead, I started to value my friends and everyone around me more. As a result, people started to treat me kinder than before. I made friends who would help me out when I was in trouble. Especially in terms of studies, I received a lot of help. I couldn't afford to go to supplemental classes due to financial reasons, and my mom was working from morning till night, so there were hardly any chances to ask her questions. Instead, my friends would teach me during breaks what I didn't understand. Maintaining high scores on tests was clearly thanks to my friends. "Thanks for everything," I would say, and my friends would respond. "Teaching others actually helps me understand better too, so I'm thankful as well." Looking back, I really think they were great friends. Even after entering junior high, my grades were among the top in my year. But when it came time to decide on a career path, I chose to work. I wanted to ease my mom's burden as much as possible. At the time, my mom worked at a convenience store early in the morning and took a cleaning job at night. She was literally working all the time, sparing no time for sleep. There were times she was so exhausted that she fell asleep on the couch. It was clear even to a child like me that she was pushing herself too hard. I wanted to earn money as soon as possible to help my mom out. Both my teacher and mom were against my decision to work right after junior high. My mom, in particular, was worried about my future and urged me to continue my education. "You should at least go to high school. The salary is different, and it can affect promotions at some companies. Don't worry about the cost of tuition." She persuaded me many times, but my resolve didn't waver. I'd rather work than study, I asserted strongly, and finally, my mom respected my wishes. "If you feel that strongly about it, I'll respect your decision, Michael." And so, I was set to enter the workforce earlier than my classmates. There weren't many companies hiring junior high graduates, but I managed to get an offer from a local factory. Since it wasn't within commuting distance, I had to start living on my own. Now it's time for me to stand on my own 2 feet and make my way in the world. Having been hired, I was determined to work hard and was eager to start. The job I was assigned was manufacturing parts like screws. At first, the work was a series of unfamiliar tasks. There were times I felt down after making mistakes, but thinking of my mother's hardships, I realized this was nothing and worked desperately. My efforts gradually earned me recognition from my boss, David. I received a raise and finally was able to send money home to my mother. Michael, you've really grown up. I'll use it wisely. The first time I sent money home, my mother's eyes welled up a little. I felt warm inside, knowing I had finally managed to do something filial. But that wasn't the only good thing about working. I made friends with whom I got along well at work. Among them, I became close with a female employee named Emily. Emily and I were not only hired at the same time, but were also middle school graduates. Moreover, we hit it off quickly because we both were raised in single-parent households. Emily was incredibly kind and considerate. Not only that, but she also had a bright personality, always smiling. Her smile lifted me up even when I was feeling down about mistakes. Without her, I would have felt lonely, being among the few employees of similar age. Half a year after we met, we started visiting each other's homes on our days off. Spending time with someone I clicked with was incredibly fulfilling. Before I knew it, I had developed feelings for Emily. I even took her to my hometown. My mother quickly became close with Emily as well. Since the divorce, my mother had been buried in work, and her interactions with female friends had decreased. It's been a while since I've had such a fun chat with someone. Thanks for introducing me to Emily. My mother looked as if she had reverted to her younger self, her eyes sparkling. It was the first time I had seen my mother look so lively. Thus, Emily, my mother, and I began to meet regularly. Sometimes, the three of us went out and had a great time. But that wasn't all. I took Emily to a special place. It was a free tutoring center where I volunteered. The center offers free educational support to children who can't afford tutoring due to financial reasons. Shortly after moving, I found a volunteer recruitment flyer in my mailbox. I've had experiences where friends helped me with my studies. In the same way, I thought it would be great if I could be of help to someone else, so I applied. As a volunteer, I was teaching math to elementary school students on Sundays. Teaching isn't easy, but it's very rewarding. When a child who previously couldn't score 50% on a test gradually improved and got 100%, I was as happy as if it were my own achievement. Above all, hearing a child say, "I used to hate math, but I like learning it from Michael," made me incredibly happy. About a year into volunteering, when they were looking for literature teacher, I invited Emily to try. She has high communication skills and is good at explaining things, so I thought she would be perfect. Fortunately, Emily showed interest. After trying out teaching once, she immediately became popular with the children and was quickly hired. Since then, going to the tutoring center together on Sundays became our routine. Both my private and work life are going splendidly. However, pitfalls often wait where you least expect them. About 2 years after I started working, a company that regularly placed large orders went bankrupt. My company was hit by the fallout, and our performance plummeted. The company began considering layoffs, and being middle school graduates, Emily and I were among those targeted. I felt like I understood why my mother was so worried about me being a middle school graduate. However, David opposed our layoffs. "You both have become valuable assets to the company now, a significant part of our workforce. I want to avoid layoffs at all costs," he said, negotiating with the higher-ups on our behalf. As a result, the two of us were spared from being laid off. But there was a condition. We had to find new clients. The deadline was 2 months. If we couldn't find any by then, we should be prepared to lose our jobs. "I'm sorry I couldn't do more to protect you," David said apologetically, but I was grateful just to have this chance. Since I have been working diligently, I was chosen to handle sales. I was determined to secure new clients. Initially, I was enthusiastic, but it turned out to be more challenging than expected. Being new to the task, I struggled to pitch effectively at first. Even after practicing with Emily and David and getting the hang of it, no company seemed interested, and I gradually felt more pressured. I visited dozens of companies, trying to build relationships, but all were unsuccessful. The fatigue was overwhelming. Before I knew it, a month had passed. Not just my job, but Emily's as well, was on the line. It was getting critical to secure a contract soon. With a do-or-die attitude, I approached a certain company. I passionately explained the strengths of my company to an employee there, Sarah. It went better than any other attempt. Sarah's response was very positive. "Your factory may not be the largest, but your production system is very well organized. We wouldn't have any issues with placing large orders." "That's right, that's our company's strength," I responded, leaning in and emphasizing our advantages. For the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. After reviewing the materials I brought, Sarah smiled warmly. "Your company's excellent production system is attractive to us. Could you present to our CEO Anderson and an efficient employee named Brian? If they like it, we'll contract with your company." "Really? I would appreciate that opportunity." When I expressed my joy, Sarah continued, "However, there are other candidate companies as well, and they will present on the same day. We will only contract with the one that impresses us the most, so there's no guarantee that you will be chosen." "Understood." Given this situation, I'm determined to deliver the best presentation and secure the contract. I immediately went back to the company and explained everything to Emily and David. Both were determined to help in any way possible to secure the contract. From that day, we immersed ourselves in preparing for the presentation. From creating materials to send to the company in advance to practicing the presentation, there was a lot to do. All these tasks were new to us and challenging, and sometimes we worked overtime. But there was no room for complaints. Not only our jobs, but also the fate of the company was at stake. Whenever the work didn't progress as hoped, Emily encouraged me. "We'll surely succeed if we persevere here. I'm with you all the way." Her advice during the document preparation was invaluable. Her insights were precise and greatly helpful. I was grateful for the numerous times she joined me for presentation practice. She pointed out things like voice tone and where to look, details I wouldn't have noticed on my own. The children at the free tutoring center also gave me hidden strength. Their dedication to their studies unknowingly motivated me. A certain fourth grader at an elementary school declared he would score 100% on their next math test and was studying seriously. Seeing such effort made me think, if he can work this hard, so can I. Motivated, I dedicated time to preparing for the presentation at home after the free tutoring sessions were over. I finished sending the preliminary documents to the prospective company and received approval after rehearsing the presentation in front of my boss. Then came the day of the presentation. "Since you've practiced so much, you'll be fine," Emily encouraged me as I headed to the prospective company. In the waiting room, I was quite nervous. Taking deep breaths helped me regain some calm. "Right, let's check the presentation materials one more time." I took out my laptop and opened the saved documents. Just as I was about to check, the door to the waiting room opened and a man wearing an expensive-looking suit entered. "Nice to meet you, my name is Brian." His name sounded familiar. He was the employee who would be attending my presentation. When I last met with Sarah, she mentioned at the end that he was a highly educated elite. "Nice to meet you too, I'm Michael. Thank you for giving me an opportunity for presentation." I greeted him politely. For some reason, Brian started smirking. "So you're Michael, still green, aren't you?" I thought that it is rude to say to someone his meeting for the first time. I was irked inside but remembered I was also a working adult. I tried to laugh it off. Haha, well, I am a middle school graduate after all. Brian's face turned even more disdainful. Wow, a middle school dropout. You should feel grateful to be breathing the same air as me, and to think, reviewing your materials in the waiting room, must be tough for someone from the bottom ring of society to land a contract. I wondered if the people with middle school graduate were so bad, and if the people who had highly educated were so great. He didn't know what he was allowed to say and what he was not allowed to say. As my irritation grew, Brian didn't stop. And to think you'd try to make a move on Sarah. Don't get ahead of yourself, he sneered. I could not understand what he was talking about. My interaction with Sarah was purely professional. My patience snapped at his barrage of insults. Just as I was about to say hold on, the door swung open. Brian, do you know who this person is? A voice followed. There stood Sarah, with an angry expression on her face. Brian remained unflinchingly arrogant. He is a bottom feeder of society, isn't he? A middle school dropout. Don't get so worked up. Sarah sighed in exasperation. You really don't understand. Michael is someone special to you, Brian. What do you mean? I asked, intrigued by her words. Brian has been looking for a new company to supply parts for his project since the company he was dealing with went bankrupt. Michael's factory is one of the candidates. Sarah explained, then looked at Brian. Brian's project is a major one, critical to our company's future. In essence, Brian's career is on the line too. That's why you were eagerly looking forward to today's presentation, right? You were excited because you thought Michael's company had the best preliminary materials. Brian turned pale. You mean, he's the one who prepared those documents? Yes, the very Michael you were mocking. Brian was dumbfounded. As this exchange unfolded, it was time for the presentation. I had been working hard for this day. Deciding to put the exchange in the waiting room behind me, I focused on the presentation. Faced with CEO Anderson, I was nervous, but I managed to perform well, just as I had practiced. After watching all the company's presentations, CEO Anderson said, Michael's company was the best. Let's go with his company for our new partnership. Brian agreed with the decision. Thank you very much. I stood up energetically from my chair to express my gratitude. This meant my company, Emily, and everyone else would be saved. I felt truly glad for all the hard work I had put in. After the meeting, Brian came over to apologize. I'm really sorry for looking down on you earlier. The materials you prepared in your presentation were excellent. Being a middle school graduate doesn't matter. You are clearly a capable person. He admitted to misunderstanding my interaction with Sarah, thinking I was making inappropriate advances after seeing us talk happily. Seeing Brian repeatedly apologize, my anger subsided. No, it's okay now. As long as you understand, it's fine. Sarah also looked relieved. This incident has made it clear that educational background doesn't matter. Michael, you researched our company thoroughly for your presentation, and the materials you prepared were outstanding. We look forward to working with you. Likewise, thank you. In a friendly atmosphere, I left the prospective company. When I returned to my company and announced our success, everyone was overjoyed. Emily was even moved to tears. It's all thanks to the support you've given me, Emily. Thank you. I went to Emily to express my gratitude. She modestly said, It's not like that. It's all thanks to your effort. But I knew that without Emily, that quality of presentation wouldn't have been possible. I decided never to forget the support she had given me. Thus, our company's performance recovered, and the threat of layoffs for Emily and me was averted. It was great to return to working energetically at the company. Emily and I continued to be in charge of the project with a new client company. As for Brian, he was removed from the project. Apparently, CEO Anderson had overheard his derogatory comments towards me. Angered, CEO Anderson reassigned him to a smaller project. It turns out CEO Anderson himself had risen from a middle school graduate to the position of CEO and couldn't tolerate educational discrimination. Sarah was assigned to lead the new project instead. According to Sarah, Brian was truly remorseful and was working hard in his new role. Emily, Sarah, and I worked together to grow the business. Now, our companies are bringing significant benefits to each other. There was also significant progress in my personal life. Around this time, I confessed my feelings to Emily. Her response was a joyful yes, and we officially became a couple. Both of our parents have given their blessing. I'm currently contemplating when to propose marriage. We still attend a free tutoring center together. Not only that, but Sarah also showed interest in the tutoring center and has started working as a volunteer staff member. She quickly became popular with the children, as she loves them. Indeed, the child who had declared he would score 100% on their test actually achieved it. From them, I was reminded once again of the importance of hard work. Looking back on my life, there have been many challenges, but I've managed to get through thanks to the help of those around me. I plan to continue working hard in both my professional and personal life, never forgetting to be grateful to those around me. Michael, I'm relieved you understand. It eases management to have a high-earner like you step aside. I expressed my gratitude, but the young CEO didn't even look my way. I've dedicated 20 years to this company. Yet, when it comes time to be cut, it happens in the blink of an eye. A junior colleague has a pregnant wife and a young daughter. A peer lives with elderly parents who require care. So, it can't be helped. Without someone leaving, the company, like a ship, would sink. Therefore, it was the right decision. Yes. I keep telling myself. Perhaps, as a senior, it was my responsibility to tap someone on the shoulder, to think about someone's future, and I've shirked it. It's not that I sacrificed myself for someone. I'm just a coward. Holding my packed belongings, said goodbye to coworkers and leave the company. Everyone averted their eyes, afraid of being targeted, but they did hold a farewell party last week. Nobody knows what to do as the number of helpless sacrifices keeps increasing. I hope everyone can stay with the company a bit longer. I'm heading home now. After sending the text, I received a good job response with a bear holding a heart sticker. I wanted to hurry home, to see a familiar face and feel reassured. I'm home. The house smelled great before I opened the door, and my wife, Sarah, had prepared more dishes than could fit on the table. I've been job hunting ever since I was listed for redundancy, but I haven't found my next job yet. Tomorrow starts the daily routine of visiting the job center and writing resumes. Will I be able to find another job? The mortgage for the condo I live in with Sarah. We don't have children, but we also can go on our regular trips for a while. What if I can find work? I start to frown, but then force myself to eat. Noticing my thoughts, Sarah cheerfully says, "You've worked hard up until today. Eat plenty, and let's just sleep tonight. You can start trying hard again tomorrow." When I was notified of the redundancy, Sarah didn't criticize me at all. "It can't be helped. Surely there will be a company out there looking for you. Don't worry, I'm working too. We'll make it work." She reassured me. For her sake too, I can't let it end here. I continued to visit the job center every day, keep sending out resumes. Days filled with well wishes. Eventually, I worried I might run out of companies to apply to. By the time a company decided to take me on, the seasons were about to change. "Michael, let's go for lunch. It can be a meeting too." I looked up to see a small face with a short haircut. It was always Olivia, who would casually check in whenever she sensed I was in trouble. "It's almost lunchtime," she said before heading back to her seat. Having been in sales my whole career, I struggled to adapt to the unique system of the new company. I took off my glasses, pressed the corners of my eyes, and stretched. "Ace, it's great that you've become friends with Liv, isn't it?" Tyler, sitting next to me, started a conversation. In the new company, everyone got along well, and from the first day, I was given the nickname Ace. I've gotten used to being called that, but it seems like it will take more time before I can call Tyler Spike like everyone else does. Liv is tough with guys. Really, if she doesn't like, she just doesn't like. You seem harmless and are all about your wife, so maybe you're safe. You don't even look like you'd hurt a fly. Tyler was muttering to himself. Harmless, huh? I smiled wryly and turned back to my PC to wrap up some system work before lunch. Our lunch, a mix of handover and strategy discussion, turned out to be pasta. While getting advice, I am eating my pasta. I bring up the earlier conversation with Tyler as a topic. Because I'm short, people often mistake my physical fitness for fragility. I've had bad experiences with men due to this misconception. I'm not comfortable around them. Olivia, who's only 4 feet 11 inches tall, does indeed look like a small animal with her tiny features. She talked about trying to grow taller during her school years by playing volleyball, but to no avail, then looked at me resentfully, wishing she could have 3.9 inches of my height. "Michael, you seem like a harmless, good father figure, so you're fine. Oh, but if you know any good guys, please introduce them to me." She cleverly adds that last bit. I want to say she's cute and should have no trouble finding a boyfriend, but I refrain, as it might sound like harassment, and instead respond with a laugh. Am I a father figure even though I'm only 10 years older? After lunch, I'm called by my boss, Noah. I think I've found a good company to rejoin. But every company has its issues. Noah, tapping nervously at the corner of his computer, isn't someone I'm fond of, to be honest. "So, Michael, about the sales targets, this is where we are. What's going on? Explain." I wonder how such a person can exist in this otherwise friendly company. To that extent, Noah was indeed a tyrant. He would nitpick over trivial matters. And he would intentionally start doing so in front of others. Tyler looks over, anxious. "You're not assuming you'll get a pass because it's a new job, right? Or are you slacking off? Was your previous company just low standard?" I haven't met the sales target yet, but I'm hopeful to reach it with the prospects. Just as I begin to recall the details from the lunch meeting, Olivia interrupts. "Noah, Michael has a plan. We just discussed it. The system's updated with the projections." She stares him down as she speaks. "And our approach here is different from his previous sector. Even you miss things in the system sometimes, Noah." Olivia and Noah don't get along. She disapproves of his habit of criticizing in front of everyone. Noah clearly doesn't enjoy Olivia's assertiveness. The tension is so palpable, it's almost audible. Just as I'm about to speak, Noah stands up. "Olivia, you seem preoccupied with Michael, but what about your new clients? Are they okay?" Frustrated, or perhaps out of arguments, Noah shifts the focus to attack her on a different issue. "Before lunch, I sent you the presentation materials. I even used some of your previous data, so please check it." "Okay." With a gesture that seemed to say never mind, he waved his hand dismissively in my direction. He's a dictatorial kind of boss, unwilling to admit defeat. I remember Tyler saying Noah, also a job hopper, is great at sales but can't shake off his big company habits. Pride might be at play since he's a man, and getting outdone by Olivia, a woman, must irk him. But since he's usually the one starting these unreasonable conflicts, I can't help but feel a sense of karma. Noah's supporters in the sales department are conveniently absent today, making his position weaker. About an hour before a major presentation, Olivia calls, sounding near tears. "I've lost the USB drive with the presentation materials." The presentation, emphasized by Noah, was an out-of-town meeting with a potential client. Following Olivia's instructions, we all start searching around our desks. I find the USB driver in a drawer. "Yes, we can make it." Relieved, we all watch as the USB driver is inserted into the computer, and I start attaching the data to an email for printing. Just in time, we can manage to pull everything together for the presentation. That's good. However, I discovered it was empty. "Olivia, what does it mean to forget the data for such an important presentation?" Olivia explained, without making excuses, that the company, which was considered a sure new deal thanks to her presentation, didn't even give the chance to present. Noah, along with his entourage, seemed to enjoy nitpicking Olivia. With her face turning red, Olivia could only repeat, "I'm terribly sorry. It's my fault." When the clock struck the end of the workday, Tyler, looking exhausted, took Olivia home. Criticized by Noah and even the company president about possibly resigning, Olivia was completely drained. "It's definitely strange," Tyler said, downing a can of beer. "There's no way Liv would make such a mistake." After hearing the situation at the cafe, I was told that Tyler had taken a tired Olivia home. Surprised to see Tyler show up while I was working late at the office, I gratefully accepted the beer he offered. With no one else around, a little break seemed okay. Tyler sorted out the information Olivia had gathered. Of course, backups had been properly made of the USB driver, and it had been double-checked when the documents were prepared the day before. At that time, both USB drivers were intact, including a spare. That USB driver wasn't supposed to be at the company in the first place. On the day, neither of them was with her. The data had been collected painstakingly over 6 months. While attempting to restore the USB driver, it seemed like it was going to take some time. Listening while the restoration process continued, Tyler mentioned, "The presentation officials were quite indifferent. It's our fault, after all." "But you know," Tyler said, growing more insistent, "there are 2 things that concern me." As he began to say this, Tyler looked over at me. First, the data was expertly erased, making restoration difficult. And the second thing is, he hesitated a bit before continuing. The night before, Noah was at Olivia's desk. When I went back for a forgotten item, seeing Noah in the dark office made me wonder if he was involved. So, it was Noah. He won't admit it, though, Tyler said with a sigh. Even if they didn't get along, the extent of his actions seemed extreme, but there seemed to be more to it. After Olivia reported the USB driver missing, Noah called, so I connected him. Noah hastily hung up the office phone, went out to the emergency stairs, and redialed on his cell phone. I thought it was suspicious and followed him. He was asking, "Did you manage to stop it?" I think he was talking to Lucas from G Trading. G Trading, I repeated, surprised. The presentation opponent, Tyler confirmed. There might still be a chance. Back at my desk, the restoration was successful. I looked over the presentation materials. It might still be possible to salvage this situation without giving up. When I mentioned this to Tyler, he joked, "That's a bit out of character for you, Ace, isn't it? Were you always like this?" Saying this, I was met with laughter. "I'll give it a try, so please tell Olivia not to worry and to make sure she comes in tomorrow." I decided to have Tyler convey this message to Olivia. After returning home, I explained the entire situation to my wife, Sarah. I also shared my deductions, which were likely correct. Since I often talked about Olivia and even suggested inviting her over, the conversation about her went smoothly. After getting the go-ahead, I took the home phone. On the third or fourth ring, someone answered. "Hello, this is Michael. It's been a while." Images of Olivia's meticulous presentation, reflecting her personality, came to mind. The next morning, the company phone rang first thing. "This is Lucas from G Trading. Is Olivia available?" Olivia, answering the phone, looked incredulous. "Michael, what kind of magic did you use?" She was astounded to say that she got another chance to present. "That's great," I replied. "It wasn't magic. The president of G Trading, Mr. Thompson, is Sarah's father. This means he is my father-in-law. He had suggested joining his company several times when I was job hunting. When Sarah and I decided to get married, we chose to make it on our own without relying on her father's large company. It took time to find a new job, and though thoughts of my father-in-law crossed my mind often, I felt relying on him would betray my promise to Sarah. I will make Sarah happy with my own efforts. I had vowed this in front of her father, the president of a major company. When I explained the situation this time, my father-in-law knew about Olivia. He described her as that small yet earnest woman. When I asked if she could have another chance to present, my father-in-law said she wanted to do it even without the materials, but Lucas was quite resistant at that time. Furthermore, he said, despite the manager there being his relatives, I thought it odd how coldly he treated her. Everyone was anxiously waiting for Olivia to return from her presentation, constantly glancing at the clock. I was sitting at my computer but couldn't concentrate at all. Just having the presentation heard would be enough. I had no intention of asking my father-in-law for anything else. The presentation was excellent after all. When Olivia returned, everyone immediately surrounded her. Tyler, speaking for the group, nervously asked, "Liv, how did it go?" Tyler. Olivia's eyes welled up with tears. "It's okay. Even if it didn't work out, there are other opportunities," Tyler began, but Olivia interrupted him. "They're interesting it all to us." As she finished, the men cheered. Tyler hugged Olivia. She looked at me and gave a smile. Noah and Lucas were indeed in cahoots. Regarding the USB driver issue, we checked the security cameras and computer operation records to see if it might have been tampered with by a thief, to ensure there was no way they could deny it. Noel apparently wanted to teach Olivia a lesson because he disliked her. Naturally, President Harrison and other employees severely reprimanded him, and he was put on home leave pending further disciplinary action. After that presentation, I ended up working with Olivia more frequently. Her enthusiastic approach to work only increased her popularity. "Please let me thank you for this, Ace," she insisted, so much so that my wife, wanting to meet her, suggested we host a tacos party at our home. Appointing a disgruntled Olivia as the chief tacos maker, my wife laughed. "Olivia, you're surprisingly clumsy, aren't you? It's my first time making tacos. I just need more practice," Olivia retorted, pouting as she produced more tacos lookalikes. "Ace, I really can't thank you enough for everything," she expressed her gratitude. I felt thankful, although I always thought I was the one being helped. My father-in-law also mentioned he judged the content impartially, without bias. Olivia's personality truly shone through in her presentation. "Since I'm an only child and always wanted a sister, I'm happy," said Sarah, who has been calling Olivia out for tea and movies, enjoying her company. Sarah seemed to have a good feeling about Olivia from the first meeting and invited some male friends to the next barbecue. Kevin, who enjoys bouldering, is an employee at my father-in-law's company and often goes fishing with him. Olivia should go out to eat with Kevin next time, Sarah had unilaterally decided. Despite her protests, Olivia often found herself laughing during her conversations with Kevin. "Kevin is looking for a girlfriend, and I think he's a good guy," Sarah said, playing Cupid. I wondered if I'd be asked to be a matchmaker if these two ended up marrying, a thought that made Sarah laugh at my premature musings. My name is Jake. I'm a man working in civil engineering. I never imagined my life would turn out this way. The thing is, I graduated from a renowned university in New York, but my job hunting didn't go well. I had always thought about working at a brokerage firm, a bank, or an insurance company someday. It was just because I was in the economics department and had a vague interest in those fields. However, I never seriously analyzed myself, so while I passed the written exams, I failed miserably in the interviews. Thus, I graduated without any job offers. I thought about repeating a year to get job offers the next year, but my parents were furious, saying, "It's your fault. We won't pay any extra tuition." Indeed, it was my fault for not being serious, so I couldn't ask them to pay more tuition. So, I started job hunting again as a second-year new graduate, but it was tough to get any offers due to the recession. If even fresh graduates were hardly considered, who would want to hire someone like me with no qualifications? All I had was a driver's license and a second level in a French proficiency test, and it was embarrassing to write that on my resume. Why didn't I seriously study for other qualifications? My peers were working hard on getting various certifications before graduation, and it was clearly my fault. When I started job hunting as a second-year new graduate, I excused myself, saying I was too busy preparing for interviews to study for qualifications. It was because of my lenient nature that I couldn't land a job anywhere. Then, I ended up in civil engineering work by chance. A middle school classmate, Alex, knew I was in an unemployment state and invited me. He looked a bit rebellious, but he was caring and always looked out for me. I accepted his invitation and started working as an apprentice the next day. I was in the baseball team during junior high and high school, so I was fairly confident in my physical strength. But the job was tougher than I expected, and I almost gave up on the first day. It was physically demanding, and the hierarchy was strict. But remembering the times I was pushed hard in the team, I managed to work desperately. Gradually, I was allowed to do more tasks, and I started to feel that even I could be useful. Alex, who invited me, praised me, saying, "You're doing better than expected." The boss, Mike, also said, "You have guts and are meticulous," which made me happy. However, my parents reacted differently. Since I graduated from that renowned university, they always said they wanted me to work in a better workplace. By better workplace, they probably meant a white-collar job. Even though I was gaining confidence in this job, I felt looked down upon and disliked it. So, I moved out of my familiar home and started living alone. I'm no longer a child and don't want to listen to everything my parents say. I decided to think of my father, a teacher, and my mother, a civil servant working at the city hall, as having rigid minds. Life after moving out was lonely at times but free. I wasn't disturbed by anyone and could relax on my days off. At work, I was always doing my best with the help of those around me, and occasionally, I went out drinking with Alex. He's really rebellious, but he understands me. He's a reliable guy. Years passed, and I became fully accustomed to my job. I changed my job a bit, and now I'm doing various things at my own discretion. One day, when I went back to my parents' house after a long time, there was a postcard for a class reunion. I didn't really want to go, but a classmate, Marshall, who called me after the invitation arrived, said, "You have to come," so I decided to go. Marshall was my best friend in college. I tried to appear cheerful in college, but being inherently pessimistic, I was always encouraged by him. When I failed in job hunting, he comforted me and promised to treat me to drinks if I got a job somewhere. And when I started working in civil engineering, he said, "You're doing great," and treated me. I was not too keen, but I would like to go if Marshall came. It had been over 10 years since I graduated, and I wondered what everyone was doing. By that time, I no longer felt ashamed or anything about working in civil engineering. However, I was worried about being ridiculed by everyone. It felt like I was confident, but not really. According to Marshall, the reunion was to be held in a stylish private dining room in Manhattan. It was more of a chic place than a pub. Wow, it's this kind of place. Seems like a nice atmosphere. I checked the restaurant on my cell phone and thought the interior and the food looked very stylish. It seemed like something women would particularly enjoy. Surely the girls from our seminar classes would be pleased. So, I decided to go to the reunion venue. Since it was right after work, I headed there directly. Upon entering the restaurant, the ladies were already seated. It seemed they had gathered early and were led in by the staff. Among them, there was one person who stood out. Her name was Rachel. She was wearing a black sleeveless dress with large earrings and a necklace. That must have been expensive. After all, she was the daughter of a company president. Oh my, if it isn't Jake. Long time no see. Ah yeah. What happened to you after you completely failed your job hunt? Well, I tried job hunting again, aiming for the second-year graduate positions. And where did you end up? Nowhere, didn't get into any. What? I failed all of them, just like the first time. That's hilarious. Jake, you didn't do any proper self-analysis, did you? Well, yeah. Her tone was unpleasant, but it hit the nail on the head, so I couldn't deny it. If I had properly analyzed myself and studied for qualifications, perhaps some company might have picked me up. But I didn't think I deserved to be laughed at by Rachel to the extent that she was cackling. Rachel kept laughing in an unpleasant way. Moreover, her laughter was vulgar, and she was banging on the table. I thought it was unbecoming of a lady from a good family to behave that way, but it felt odd for me to say so, so I kept quiet. So, what are you doing now? Don't tell me you're unemployed. No, I'm definitely working. Oh really? What kind of job? Well, something related to civil engineering. What? Wait a minute. We're graduates of the prestigious W University, and you're telling me you're working in civil engineering. Don't make me laugh. Haha, that's dirty work. Gross. Why are you wearing a suit then? Suits suit you less than work clothes, Jake. That's because, as I was about to say something, I heard a voice from behind. It was Marshall's voice. Hey, long time no see. President Thompson of the $10 million annual sales company. What? Rachel, I heard everything you were saying about Jake. So what? It was loud enough to be heard outside. Marshall, who was a bit late, had arrived and mentioned that Rachel's voice could be heard all the way outside. I had thought Rachel's voice was loud, but it must have been quite the volume. Well, being close to the entrance is one thing, but I think it's a bit much for loud, vulgar laughter and demeaning comments to be heard outside. It's been a long time, hasn't it? 2 years since we last met. Yeah, it's been 2 years since then. Man, I remember treating you last time to celebrate, right? Right, you heard about me and insisted on celebrating. Yay, that's right. Wait a minute, what's this about President Thompson with an annual revenue of $10 million? Huh, you didn't know? This guy, he's a president. What? He started off in civil engineering and now he owns a company, a construction-related company. So, he's not just a worker. Exactly, he's making a killing. What? He's earning more than my dad. Huh? Rachel was angry to learn that I was earning more than her father. She was fuming with her face all red, but I couldn't understand why I was being scolded. After all, I had reached my current position through hard work, so I felt it was unfair to be scolded. In fact, After being invited by a classmate from junior high to start working in civil engineering, I gradually discovered the appeal of the work. Initially, I mimicked what my seniors and Mike were doing and was often scolded, but as I became capable of doing more, I started to enjoy it. And one day, Mike said to me, "You should have your own path." Meaning, instead of working here forever, why not own a company? Over the years, I had juniors under me, and I was told I was good at teaching. Mike believed I could effectively manage young workers. Believing his words, I quit my job and took a leap of faith to establish a construction company. I didn't know much about it, but it turned out I had a knack for management. I focused on how to make the business successful and what would make a comfortable working environment for the employees, working hard every day. Before I knew it, my company's annual revenue had reached $10 million. Now that as a president, of course, he'd wear suits, right, Jake. Yeah, I had a meeting today. What? How can a loser like Jake become a president? That's impossible. What's impossible is Rachel's attitude. Don't you think it's rude to say such things? We can live in houses because people in civil engineering work hard for us. But, so, what are you doing, Rachel? I'm not working. I'm helping out at home. Oh, isn't that what they call an unemployment in society? What? Looking down on others when you're not even working. I thought you might be helping out with your father's business. I'm a president's daughter. I don't need to work. I'm busy with marriage hunting. Marriage hunting, huh? Marshall chuckled a bit maliciously. He probably thought someone as arrogant and ignorant as her wouldn't be favored by men. Our female classmates, well, women now, most of them were wearing rings. Meaning, they were married. Rachel must be feeling the pressure to get married. We're all 35 now, and I guess it's natural for women to feel a bit anxious. I'll marry someone good, so don't make fun of me. Well, do as you like. Yeah, it's Rachel's choice, after all. After that, we all enjoyed drinking and eating together. As we got progressively more intoxicated, the conversation turned to the idea of heading to a second venue among the singles. The married women left, citing they had left their children with their husbands, but Rachel stayed behind. I'm so drunk. Can someone take care of me? Rachel, you've had too much to drink. But I love drinking. I want to drink more. Are you going to the after party? I'm going. I want to drink more. But aren't you too drunk? Isn't that dangerous? Jake, stay by my side. Huh? I have fallen for you, Jake. Well, I'll make you my special soup every day from now on. Become my husband, right, Mr. President? Hey, I don't want to. Rachel was coming on to me, trying to touch me all over. It might be flattering to be approached by a woman, but I couldn't take advantage of a drunk woman. Besides, Rachel had just ridiculed me earlier. So, I couldn't genuinely feel happy about it. She probably said these things because she wanted a man, especially a president like me, to support her. Was it all just an act of being drunk? Or was she genuinely intoxicated and wanting to be with me? It's hard to tell. Either way, I dislike people who only say convenient things, regardless of gender, so I turned her down. Sorry, but I can't date you, Rachel, and I'm not considering marriage. What? How can you say that? You're only acting this way because you found out I'm a president, aren't you? No, it's not an act. I really think you are the one. That's why I'm saying this. Well, it doesn't matter either way. I just don't like women who only act out of convenience. Sorry, but look elsewhere. No way. Drunk to the point of incoherence, Rachel ended up crying on the sidewalk. It looked like we were bullying her, making her cry, which I wanted to avoid. Marshall was also exasperated, trying to help her stand up. Then, he hailed a taxi, giving the driver Rachel's address. Pay the fare with us. You don't have to return the change. You'd better go home and sleep it off, Rachel. I wanted to go to the after party. Marshall, being a good guy, handed over $100 for Rachel's taxi fare. It probably wouldn't cost that much, but he said to keep the change, which I thought was really generous. I remember once when I lost my wallet as a student, he searched for it with me. Eventually, it was found and turned into the police, and I went to collect it, but he took care of me in many ways, including treating me to lunch during that time. Man, thanks for today. My brother was really grateful for the good deal he got. It's me who should be thanking you. I OP'd a lot. Jake, you've really grown up. It's amazing, you being a president and all. No, I've still got a lot to work on, but I hear you're doing great too, Marshall. Not really. Marshall is an elite at a trading company, and his brother Pete works with my company. So he often hears about me through his brother. Today, I had a business meeting with his brother, Pete. Meanwhile, Marshall had to reschedule an appointment at the last minute, which is why he was late. I try my best, but I guess I'm not cut out to be a president or anything like that. I don't think so, but I am where I am today because you encouraged me, and you're working hard too. I'm not good at sales, you know. It's a relief to hear you say that. My wife recently found out she's 3 months pregnant, so this will be our third child. I want to earn more to make their lives easier. Really? Congratulations. Haha, thanks. I'm going to be a father of 3 now. That's amazing. And here I am without even a girlfriend. Oh, should I introduce you to someone? There's this woman at my company. Hardworking and beautiful, yet single. Really. She's been trying to find a boyfriend. Maybe you should meet her. Sure. Following that, I met with Sophia, a woman introduced by Marshall. She worked at Marshall's company, holding her own in a general position just like her male colleagues. However, she had a modest, not flashy impression. Contrary to my preconception that women in trading companies, being high earners, would love brand names, she was different. I've been single since my boyfriend broke up with me 4 years ago. I see. But I'm so glad I met you, Jake. You're so friendly. Would you consider seriously dating me? Me? Really? Yes. You seem so sincere and kind. Thank you. I also have the same feeling to you. This is how Sophia and I started dating. Sophia was younger, at 30 years old. Being 5 years younger, she appeared even younger and more childlike, perhaps due to her light makeup and simple appearance. We went on dates every weekend, spending many enjoyable times together. I'm truly grateful to Marshall for introducing me to Sophia. A year passed, and it was Christmas. My business was doing well, and despite being busy, I was enjoying every day. Thinking it was the right moment, I prepared to propose. Sophia, please accept this. What's this? Will you marry me? I opened the box with the engagement ring inside. Sophia's face beamed with joy, clearly delighted. Then, she gently tucked the ring and slid it onto her finger. It's beautiful. You got this for me. I want to be with you forever. When I graduated from college, my job hunt was a disaster. I didn't follow the elite path like you, and it's been a roundabout journey, but now, I'm confident in myself. Yes. I want to work even harder, contribute more to society, and I want to walk through life with Sophia by my side. So, please marry me. Thank you, I'm looking forward to it. Yes. Getting a yes from Sophia was exhilarating. I wanted to pick her up and spin around with joy. Later, Sophia and I met up with Marshall. Wow, you two are really getting married. Congratulations. It's all thanks to you, Marshall. Yes, all thanks to you. You're a hard worker and great at cooking too. You'll be a great wife. I enjoy cooking, so I'm glad. Remember that beef stroganoff you made for me? That was delicious. I learned a lot from my mother, so I'm pretty good at it. I'm not great at cooking, so I guess I'll be learning from you. After that, we officially got married. My parents, who now fully accept me, were in tears. Sophia, surprisingly not prone to tears, seemed fine even when reading a letter to her parents during the ceremony. She might be quite a resilient woman. I feel incredibly lucky to be married to such a wonderful person. And so, our life together as a couple began. Sophia continued to work at the trading company, and I kept on with my duties as a president. The company has grown significantly, and although I could support us without Sophia needing to work, I respected her wish to continue her career. We live in an era of gender equality, and I value Sophia's opinions. Despite her busy schedule, Sophia always manages to cook delicious meals. In return, I take care of other household chores and cook on weekend. It brings me great joy to make dishes I learned from Sophia and see her happy. You're getting better at this. Amazing. Really. Thanks. Maybe it's because you're good with your hands. Weren't you a worker before? I guess that involves a lot of detailed work. Oh, that's just my assumption. Well, I don't know about that, but I've always liked building model kits and assembling computers. So, I guess I don't mind detailed tasks. Cooking is kind of like assembling too, right? Chopping ingredients and mixing spices just right. Exactly. A small mistake can lead to a disaster. Well, to me, your cooking is the best. Stop, you're making me blush. As we settled into married life, we gradually learned more about each other. Although we'd been dating for a year, I hadn't realized how much Sophia laughed. Initially, she seemed demure and simple, but now she comes across as very cheerful. Having such a wife gives me the energy to excel at work every day. 2 years later, Sophia got pregnant. We wanted children and were blessed almost immediately. I was overjoyed, holding my wife's hand and shedding tears. When she bravely gave birth, I vowed to be a good father. Years have passed since then. Marshall, unfortunately, is no longer with us. He became ill and passed away. I was deeply saddened by his death, but I remain grateful to him. I have a family and a happy life, thanks in large part to Marshall. I especially appreciated how he supported me when Rachel was being unpleasant. I don't believe being a president makes me superior, but without Marshall's intervention, I might have continued to be disparaged. Marshall always looked out for me, despite my timidity. I occasionally contact his wife and visit with my family to pay respects. I'm determined to live in a way that would make Marshall proud.